All right, so we're going to look now at the Song of Solomon. It's also called the Song of Songs. And let me just adjust my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just a little introduction here. Did you all see the message I sent out yesterday? Did you get a chance to read the message, email or text? Okay, I hope you did because it kind of gives you, this is such a different book of the Bible. I think if you've ever read it before, you know it's a very different book of the Bible. Most of the Bible stories are somebody telling a story about something that happened with them or somebody else. It's more like a narrative. This is, and even though the Psalms, there's poetry in the Psalms, but this is different because this is represented as the love, the passion between a man and a woman. And it's also like an allegory of Christ's love for the church. So, and it's interesting how, we can get much from this because the more we understand the idea of love for Christ for me, the better I can understand what it means for, a man and woman to love each other. Now, we're not used to thinking that way. I know it. People are not. Because it's such an intimate description, most preachers will never preach on the Song of Solomon. They're scared of it. They're embarrassed by it. But, if it's in the Bible, it's there for a reason. So we're going to go through it. So it's a series of love poems between a woman called the Shulamite woman, she calls herself. And you have the woman says something, and then sometimes her friends will say something. They call them the daughters of Jerusalem. And then you'll have the man say something. And so we figure the man is the king. Like he's King Solomon, at least in his thinking when he was writing this. And the woman is the Shulamite woman. And it's an interesting thing because, like I said, it's the most interesting book of so romantic love and marital union and passion. And he used the example of a man and a woman, but it's also a prophetic book about Christ coming and Christ's love for the church. So see, Solomon didn't, I'm sure he had visions of that and not aware of the Messiah coming. I don't know how, I guess God gave him divine revelation to kind of show him what that would actually be like in our deepest hearts. So like I said, this wisest man, the King Solomon, most powerful man, and his one true love, the Shulamite woman. Now she was a beautiful woman, it says, and that she came from and she called herself the Shulamite, and she says she has very dark skin. And some have decided, well, she must have been an African woman. Yet that can't be because she clearly says, she says, my skin is very dark because my brothers make me work out in their vineyards. And she says, I can't really take care of mine. They're mean to me. So she's a woman from a lowly place where the women had to get out there and work in the field. She wasn't a wealthy woman. She couldn't have been like the Queen of Sheba, like some people say. That's not her. She's a woman of lowly. She came from a village called Shula, excuse me, in North Israel. And anyway, and even though Solomon did know the Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia, um, this was a different person altogether. So anyway, to the king, though, he sees her as the most beautiful woman on earth. So you have to figure a king, you know how royalty tends to connect with royalty, right? This king is gonna marry this princess, or this princess marries this princess or prince or whatever. You know how that tends to work. And if any of them think about marrying any lower, oh, they're just despised, right? They'd be mocked. They could be laughed out of their high position. So this is a pretty extreme thing for Solomon, who had hundreds of wives. But here's he's defining his deepest, greatest love as this poor woman who's been mistreated and her skin is dark from working out in the sun. But she describes herself as, I'm lovely though. You know, you hear me say this sometimes that every woman should think of herself as lovely, as beautiful. Every single day, you need to, every one of you look in the mirror and say, I'm truly beautiful. I'm a beautiful woman. Because that's true. That's how God sees you. And hopefully your husband sees you that way. I think these men do. So, good boy, Bill. So, anyway, we're gonna now actually, I'm gonna play this on a video where you can see. I didn't know I was going to have this video when I sent you the message, um, but it's going to play the video and it shows the lines on the screen while they're also being recited by actors. Okay, so we're going to look at that right now. So let's see what I get back to my screen share. I need a technician doing all this for me. All right. Okay, here we go.
Solomon's Song of Songs.
Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the maidens love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers.
We rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine.
How right they are to adore you. Dark am I, yet lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me, made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I have neglected. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock, and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends?
If you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. I liken you, my darling, to a mare harnessed to one of the chariots of Pharaoh. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold studded with silver.
While the king was at his table, my perfume spread its fragrance. My lover is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. My lover is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-gedi.
How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are doves.
How handsome you are, my lover. Oh, how charming, and our bed is verdant.
The beams of our house are cedars. Our rafters are firs.
Okay, so praise the Lord. So I hope between yesterday and today you've maybe gone through that passage several times because you obviously would see that it's not like anything else in the Bible, really. Okay, there's no other dialogue between a man and a woman that is this extensive and is designed to, again, originally to depict a man and woman's love at the deepest level. I mean, Solomon, like I said, he had something like 700 wives and 1,000 concubines. So he knew a lot about attraction. And so for him to take this one person to be his example out of all the other queens and princesses, people he probably had taken his wives and so on, but deep inside, he's seeing something. He's seeing that the value of a woman is comes from the deepest part within. This woman clearly does not have the beautiful robes or crowns or her hair done in the most perfect, stylish way. Okay? She's a simple woman, country woman. but he sees something deeper in her. And the good thing too, and again, this is something a lot of times people have trouble with this, and women can have a lot of trouble with this. I find when I'm counseling, understanding that the depth of God gave you a beautiful spirit. You're beautiful, and you want to think of yourself that way. Then you'll be in line with God. You see, because that's how He thinks of you. He knows you're unique. He knows each of you ladies are very unique. You're perfect in your own way in His eyes. And He loves to think about you. He's not, so many churches, it's so bad, they're totally misled. They want to talk about all the things you do wrong. God's sitting here keeping a record of all the things you do wrong. When the Bible says love does not keep a record of things wrong, things you've done wrong. It also says God is love. So He's not doing that. That's a lie from the devil. But a lot of preachers use it to kind of beat up and control people, unfortunately. No, each of us, men as well as the women, just understanding what it means to be immersed in that. It's just it'll be our center of joy. And it's another thing, it makes you more resistant to the lies of the devil. Because if you're thinking about Jesus with that deep, passionate love for you and, and Him holding you close, you really don't have to fear anything. You got the most powerful soldier in the world watching over you. And sometimes we want to take on the world by ourselves. Our pride can make us do that sometimes. Or we're listening to the world and other women too much. Listen to Jesus. Well, some of the old black ladies used to say, Jesus, do you right. Maybe you heard that before. Used to hear some of the black women at Eastway Church of God would say that sometime. Jesus, do you right. So, so I want to ask you a couple of questions here. I want to ask you first off, hold on. I get rid of that. Okay, hold on. Just having to shift my position here. Okay. So I want to ask you, and I want some answers here, okay? So you can unmute, because I do want to hear some answers here. Otherwise, it's like, I don't think y'all understand what's going on. So what do you think about this couple?
Oh, they love each other.
If you personally knew a couple like this, how would you be thinking about them, their relationship?
They're in love with each other deeply.
Okay, that's great. Deeply in love with each other. What else?
They appreciate one another.
Great. That's a great observation, Bill. Um, you know, when a man first sees a woman, he might be especially attracted to her, something about the way she talks or her hair, whatever, something about her physical nature. It might get his attention, and he might be easily able to compliment and things like that. But will that man 30 years later, say they're married, will he still look to see those things? Because we change. So a man who's on track with the Spirit of God, he will still look to see those things in his woman. And he will still compliment these things in her. Because women were created, like I've told you, to be loved. And being affirmed, encouraged, complimented, that's part of the loving. So we're wise when we do that. Bill, I appreciate what you just said. It also means sometimes you may, if you feel like maybe the relationship with the husband and wife is maybe not as good as it could be, one of the best things you can do, and it's so easy, you don't need a counselor for it. Men, stop, take a step back, and just think through your mind of just the positive things you've seen in this woman over the years. Could have happened 20 years ago. Bring it to her mind. Hey, remember when you did this and this? That was such a great thing you did. Or last week when we went out to eat, you just looked so great. You might have said it that night, but say it again a week later. And just keep refreshing the memories. It's amazing what that will do to help if the marriage has gotten a little cool. Okay. Um, and most of this starts with the man. Okay. Women have their part too. But men, you have a lot of power. You have a lot of power with this. And the lady's there, she's just waiting for you to use that power. So that's what I kind of see in this here too. What do we get from the fact that the king was rich, but the woman was poor?
It didn't matter what walk of life they came from. All that mattered was that they loved one. To overcome those differences.
Very good. Good answer. Steve, what were you going to say, buddy?
Uh, well, she's obviously having to work in all of her brother's vineyards, so she's expected to to work. Um, the question was, she doesn't come from wealth or royalty. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's rich and she's poor, so what do we get out of that? He could have chosen a rich woman.
Yeah. Well, I I, I don't know. I don't think, if a man is worth his weight, he's in his heart. I don't think it matters what her background is or who she is or where she comes from. You know, there's I know in my case, there's a verse in the song here. It says, "How beautiful you are, how beautiful your eyes are like doves," and that's the same way I feel about Pam. Pam doesn't ever have to tell me that she loves me. All I have to do is look at her eyes, and so that's the attraction.
Oh, that's very nice. Very nice. Bill?
Well, I also look at it and think about how even though one is rich and one is poor, it's like how Christ sees us. We're poor in spirit, or but he is rich in love, no matter what.
That's a great spiritual comparison. You're realizing, somebody who's poor knows they're poor financially or with property, but they can still be like this woman, still have a lovely spirit, lovely heart, and be lovely, in her looks as well. If a woman say a woman who's poor can still think of her that way. She doesn't need all the fanciest cosmetics and clothing or anything. A man will see that in her. I think that's a kind of a lesson for men here. A man can see that in her. He sees the beauty and he sees there's something lovely inside her. And that transcends because it's touching his heart as well as, his eyes and feelings. Okay, so anybody see any particular poetic symbols that reflect the depth of their love for each other? There's things that are more symbolic, maybe, but they don't have to be symbolic, but they have meaning to emphasize the closeness.
I'd say probably the way they complement one another.
Yes. And, like I said, the men have a lot of power in this thing about complimenting the woman. Good power for good, power to refresh the woman. See. But women have a lot of power too, affirming or complimenting the man. We're living a time when that's not a popular thing to do. The culture says, no, it's just about the woman and what the woman wants, what the woman, desires. And that's a good thing, but not to the exclusion of her appreciation of the man. Men enjoy hearing nice things about them too, themselves. Now, do you think that strengthens the relationship if he's affirming her, she's affirming him? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Always remember, women, what the man wants most is to please you. Your words, your compliments mean more to him than anybody's. The boss can give him a big raise and tell him he's employee of the week, whatever. But your encouragement and praise and affirmation means 1,000 times more. So all women need to dispel all this mythology about men. Men have hearts too, and they are influenced. It influences their feelings about us, see? So it's a true relationship where there's giving and appreciation coming from both directions. Let's look at a couple of these examples here that they give. First thing she says, the very first verse in the Song of Solomon. It's also called the Song of Songs because it's considered the most beautiful song ever written. She says, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Your love is more delightful than wine. Some of the ladies get all sheepish and shy when you say something like this. That's how she feels. That's how she feels. And she's being honest with herself and her feelings, not trying to hide everything. Now, or they make a joke about it. Okay. But every woman who's loved has it within her the ability to take that love and reflect it back. Okay. In a different way, in a feminine way. Okay. So this woman's pretty upfront about she really desires this guy. And she says, pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes that he wears. Okay. So as the example Steve gave a minute ago, they're looking for things to praise about each other. They may not be obvious to everybody else, but you're looking for things to affirm about each other. It's an ongoing part of a good relationship. And this old devil trick of, well, he said something I didn't like, or she said something I didn't like, so I'm not going to talk to him for the next 3 months. Foolishness like that. You know who's controlling the relationship then. Remember, the word devil means divider. So if you're being divided, we're not listening to the right voices here. Interesting, I thought about this because she says that, I think men used to wear fragrances and things more in the past. I don't think I hardly ever notice any kind of fragrance on men anymore. I'm not sure what the meaning of that is, but clearly it was something important back then that was enjoyed. But I think the main thing is whatever he's doing to make himself appealing to her, she's noticing it. She's affirming it. Maybe it's not her favorite fragrance, but if he's gone to the effort to try to do something he thinks will be nice for you, you don't want to be that woman who just immediately finds something fault with it. Use your imagination. If you can think of anything positive to say, you could say that. Well, this is just one example of many things. She says, this is interesting too. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the young women love you. I get a couple of messages out of that. Anybody else get out of those two things? Your name, let's just take that first. Your name is like perfume poured out. What do you think about her perception of him when you read that? A perfume is normally meant to be enjoyed. I'll say fragrance. We think of perfume more with women, but fragrance, okay? And I'm not trying to say, men, you need to wear fragrances. That's totally up to you. I'm just using this example. Um, um, but she says, your name is the emphasis here. Your name is like perfume to be poured out. Now, think about that, ladies. This is giving us God's wisdom here, okay? That his name excites her. Hearing his name, she thinks, well, he's a good man. That's a good thing to hear his name mentioned, to hear him complimented. A lot of times women, they, especially if they get together with other women, it can be like, Oh, well, you don't know what he's really like. Let me tell you what he does. He burps at the table or whatever she may come up with. It could be anything. And immediately she sees other people, especially other women, who she sees as um, appreciating him. She wants to try to knock that image down. Well, what about a more godly answer? He is a really great guy. Oh, yeah, he's awesome. She says, goes on to say, no wonder the young women love you. One of the poisons about a relationship with a man and woman is this phrase, and you already know it. It's called being taken for granted. Okay? Being taken for granted. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, we know people in life who have been very much drawn to people with great handicaps, okay, disabilities. One of those great stories of Johnny Erickson, the girl who uh, became a quadriplegic from a diving accident when she was 18. Beautiful woman, and her spirit is continued to be very beautiful, but she could not use her arms or legs. But a man met her, and he so loved who she was. He married her. They've been married like 45 years now, I think. And many places, if they're going, he would have to pick her up out of the wheelchair and carry her about. So you think that's romantic? I think it's extremely romantic. So that kind of love is still out there. So recognizing that for everybody, I'm going to say, let me go to everybody who has a good heart, a good spirit, they are going to be attractive to other people. So whoever your wife is, the devil will kind of be put in our mind over time the negatives about her. But I can promise you, there are plenty of men out there who would love to have a good woman like that. Doesn't hurt to remind ourselves of that. Only because, not to encourage jealousy, but to build an appreciation that this person is highly desirable. That's why you care about her. She's highly desirable, and you're a smart guy. You don't just go after junk. So you got this woman and you appreciate her because she's quality. She's a treasure to you. But remind ourselves that a lot of other people would be in line to have her if they could. It keeps us humble. Okay. But now she's doing this. This is a woman saying it. So, ladies, the same thing. If you've got a good man, there are thousands of women who would love to have that good man. So you got to be careful about focusing on the negatives about him too much because the other people, they're not going to see those things. They're just look right past and say, all I know is this is a really good man and he will be good to me. So nobody should take anybody for granted. It seems to be like an ongoing, continuing appreciation. And the appreciation comes through how we express our feelings for that person. And it should never grow dry or grow old. Okay. And she says, do you think she's passionate? She says, take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. She sounds very excited. She wants to make love with him. She has this deep passion. And her friends chime in and say, and this is an interesting thing too. We rejoice and delight in you, talking to the woman. We will praise your love more than wine. Do you think those are good friends or not? Women? Rock hand?
Yes, I think good
Yes.
friends.
Linda said what?
Yes.
Okay. Those are good quality friends. And I will tell you that out there in the world, some women have friends or relatives who do not rejoice when they find love. I've ministered with people before who they lost a person they really loved and later found out after the woman had some time to get her head clear, months later, the reason she decided to reject her boyfriend because her roommate, her best friend, was putting him down, putting him down, putting him down. Actually, had one situation where after the couple broke up, the friend met a guy and she really fell for it. And then she confessed to her other friend, well, I was jealous because you had somebody and I didn't. So I deliberately tried to mess it up. And she did. If you've got something you're feeling happy about, and the Bible says, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn, like we heard about the soldier story earlier. But if you see your friend, if you're a good friend, you rejoice when they're, you don't let the devil immediately stick that jealousy thing inside our mind. That's poison. You know it's poison from the devil the minute you start thinking it. No, our true friends will celebrate with us and pray for our relationships and be happy for us. Okay? So that's a way to know who's a true friend. It could be a relative will do the same thing. You got to learn where your boundaries are and who you get. If you really care for somebody, you should just be accepting compliments and praises about them from other people in an honorable way, of course. So then the woman comes back again. The Shulamite woman comes back. She's not through. She says, how right these women are to adore you. Okay. Then she starts talking about her own life. Excuse me, let me take a quick swallow here. Dark am I, yet lovely. Okay. Every woman, I don't care what the situation is, you've got to remind yourself to Jesus, you are lovely. You're perfect. Okay. He wouldn't change you at all. He thinks you're the greatest. The more you consider on that in your relationship with Jesus, the more accepting you can be of kind words from the man, you see. Mm. Women who don't really believe that God sees them as beautiful and loves them, if a man compliments them, often they'll reject it. They'll pull away from it. The more you value yourself, the more you appreciate other people who value you. It says, daughters of Jerusalem, these are her friends, dark like the tents of Kedar. She's talking about her skin. Like the tent curtains of Solomon. I don't know what that means. Do not stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. Do you think that she's had people stare at her, that she was unusually dark from that sentence? Mm. Think it might have made her sensitive to being stared at? Meaning some people stared at her and got a negative reaction. Don't stare at me because I'm dark. I imagine her feelings have been hurt by that many times. Because I'm darkened by the sun, my mother's sons or brothers were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards, meaning their vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. Now she's speaking to the man. She stopped talking about herself. She's saying to the man, tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock, where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends? Now, what do you maybe get out of that passage there? Anybody?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Verse 7. Why does she want to find out where he grazes his flocks? Why would she want to know that?
So she could go there.
Bingo. So she can go there. And why would she want to go there? What do you get from the rest of that in that verse? Why would she want to go there?
He wants to be seen.
She wants to be seen with him. Very good, Linda. And so she says, why should I be like a veiled woman? Now, what does that say to you?
Hidden. She wants to be out in the open.
Yes. It's like if you really love me, if you really care for me, hopefully you're proud of me. You want people to see me with you. It makes me think too that maybe she has worn a veil sometimes because people have been staring at her because of the darkness of her skin. Because clearly she's sensitive about that. She kind of refers to it a couple of times, right? Very good. Very good comments. And then her friends say, if you do not know most beautiful of women, now that's nice when your friends think of you that way. I think women in love are extremely beautiful. I've seen women who had not had a date in years. I've seen it happen, especially in churches. A woman who had not had a date in years, and suddenly some man shows an interest in her. He sees her, he sees the beauty in her, and he's drawn to her. He wants to seek out her presence. And immediately, these other men, like vultures, want her. And they will do anything they can connive or manipulate to make her, the guy she likes, look bad because they want to move in. And men are unscrupulous like that. Okay. So be aware, ladies. And then I actually saw this happen a couple of times. And they date the woman for a while, then they get bored with her, and boom, that's over. Church couples I'm talking about. So it'll happen. So if you somebody who's quality and they really want you, don't take it for granted. Because if you dump that man, somebody else will want him. Okay? Somebody else will see, wow, he used to make you so happy, but something else got in your mind that wasn't healthy. But I bet he'd make me happy. That's how couples think, right? So the friends say, if you do not know most beautiful of women, where he grazes his sheep, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. And what's going on there? Come on, Steve, you know what's going on. Verse 8. Go ahead and tell us. Go ahead, Patty.
Making herself known.
So I get a little closer to the microphone.
Making herself known where she is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have or they know where she'll be.
Well, so again, do these sound like true friends?
Yes.
Do they sound like they're trying to actually help her?
Yes.
Now, those are true friends, right? If instead of trying to steal your guy or talk you out of him, trying to help you in that relationship, those are true friends. I like that little passage for that reason. And then the king says, I liken you my. Now, this one was pretty fascinating. And I hope you all are going to be able to get this, especially you, Pam. You're the first one. So the king says to the woman, I liken you, my darling, to a mare. What is a mare, Pam?
Well, the mare, the female,
Okay, mare is a female horse, right?
but right. In the wild, anyhow, I don't know about domestic so much, but the mare is a leader. She leads a band. She leads her band to grazing, to water, away from danger.
Okay. All right. Well, but generally, the mare is a female horse and the stallion is a male horse, just
Right.
generally speaking.
Right.
So I'm thinking he's kind of making it kind of simple here. Not as I mean, that's interesting details, but I don't think that's what he's going for with this. He says, I liken you, or I consider you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, and your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold studded with silver. Now, let's go back to that first part. I liken you, my darling, to a mare amongst Pharaoh's chariot horses.
Yeah, the mares or the horses of the Pharaoh were considered to be the absolute best there were. There were none better.
Mm-hmm. But I did some research on this, Bill, in addition to that. Yes, for sure, what you just said. I actually did some research on AI. What kind of horses would normally be expected to pull a chariot? Now, keep in mind, it's not just to take somebody on a ride. They're pulling them forward while they're going against spears and swords and probably getting hurt themselves. And it's, stallions, male horses. First were stronger,
Yeah.
tend to be more aggressive and more open to, hey, let's jump into battle here. And um, I asked this question. So what would it mean to say, I consider you my darling, like a mare amongst Pharaoh's chariot horses? So think about this for a second. Most of us been raised around animals, okay? So, all right, let's say you got a room full of men just sitting and talking, and suddenly a lovely woman enters the room. Does the conversation, the mood change in the room?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really,
Suddenly, they just want to be noticed by that woman with most cases, okay? I'd say the same thing would happen with women. You got a room just full of women, and some very attractive man suddenly walks in the room. That will also change the mood of the room. These are just, these are just natural things, okay? Nothing bad about them. It's just how it is. So he's saying, take these big, strong stallions who have been in battle, and suddenly you bring this beautiful mare amongst them. You think that's going to maybe influence how these stallions are thinking?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he's saying that would be a bad thing to do. He said, but that's what it's like with you because you're so beautiful. So he goes on to describe her beauty, her cheeks and her neck. You're so beautiful. If you walk in there amongst, you're a mayor and you walk amongst these stallions, it's going to really shake things up. If you're in heat, then really shake things up. You'll have horses go into battle over her. He said, but that's what the effect would be if you enter a room where there's a bunch of men, especially men who don't have a woman. Anyway, that's so he's giving her a great compliment. I don't know. I think you have to know a little bit more about it. Anybody living in those times would know just what he meant. Then the woman speaks, the king was at his table, and my perfume spread its fragrance. My beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of Engedi. Now she's comparing the man she loves. What's she comparing him to? What are these items she's talking about? Myrrh and henna blossoms. What is that supposed to make us think about?
All fragrance.
Yes, lovely fragrances. What is the fact that she has that sachet resting on her chest, and specifically she's between my breasts? Does that sound where you might put something very intimate to you?
Hmm.
When a woman wears a locket with a picture of her guy in it, is there meaning that she's wearing it right there over her heart instead of maybe on her wrist like a bracelet? Some people do that, but do you think that has meaning that you wear a locket between the other person's face right closest to your heart?
Hmm.
Men, you're going to have to get these women lockets. Okay, so she's emphasizing a very personal, intimate feeling she has for him. In other words, it's like he's the heart of her heart, right? She experiences this oneness in heart with him. And she's considered this a very beautiful thing. I'm sure whatever fragrances she got to wear on her chest over her heart were something that were very important and personal to her. She would choose something that didn't smell good. And it helps her, for her, it enhances her feelings about the man. Okay. All the men are scared to comment on that. It's all right. And then the man answers, he says, how beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are like doves. You think he's paid attention to her eyes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice what Steve said about Pam earlier. Very, very sweet comment there. So he's saying, in other words, he's not just seeing the general appearance. It's not like a model you see in a magazine, okay? A model on the cover of a magazine or something. It's not like that, just a general look at beauty. He's actually studying her features. He's paying attention. Women, you're supposed to enjoy these kind of things. The other person is seeing something in his eyes. Maybe you've never been complimented on some of these things before, but he sees them. He notices. And so, and a man wants to comment on those things. He's enjoying it, and he wants you to know he's enjoying it. He's not out complimenting other people's eyes, just you. And they can't help but say it. So if a woman, though, because again, our culture is so messed up. If a woman brushes it off or suddenly turns her head away, the man's just complimenting her eyes, and she just kind of makes a joke about it, or she just turns her face away. What does a man feel?
Rejected.
He feels rejected. Do you think he's more or less likely to compliment her eyes in the future?
Less.
Yep. Rejection is not fun for anybody. Ladies, I know y'all know about your feelings of rejection. The man has feelings of rejection too, and these things can do harm. And this is why you'll sometimes hear ladies along the way complain to their friends, well, he never says nice things about me. He never compliments me. Well, maybe he used to. Did he used to ever? And what did you do? Did you smile and be grateful and let him just enjoy it? Or did you immediately turn it away from him? All those things have a reaction in a person. If a woman compliments a man, he needs to say thank you, or that was nice of you to say that, because men do hear it, they do appreciate it. So then she goes on. She says, she responds to his comment about her eyes. She finds something nice to say about him. I don't guess you don't always have to do that, but this is what she did here. She responds with, well, how handsome you are, my beloved, and how charming. And our bed is verdant. I hope I'm saying that word right. Anybody know if I'm saying that word right? Bill, you should know something about that word.
Great.
Oh, good. I don't know what that word is, to be honest.
Okay. It's verdant or verdant, however it's said, actually refers to something like a garden that is very lush and very fertile. So she's saying, and I know it's not true for everybody, but she's saying she would that she thinks he'd like to have children, and she would, and she's saying, we come together, our bed is going to be a very fertile place for us to be. Now, for us, we can again see it as our relationship with Christ. We can see it. In other words, the human element here is very relevant. There's a reason God has this in the Bible. He's wanting to help men and women to help understand each other better, to have a deeper relationship where they can really value each other at maybe at a whole new level. But then in Christ, he's also saying, the Bible says that the word of God is a seed. And so the seed is sown into us, and we're like a fertile place. God's sowing his seed in us, his word, so that we can respond, accepting Christ, and then be fertile and then be fruitful for him in his kingdom. All right. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you to read out loud verse 17 and tell us what he's talking about. What does this mean to you? It just as in literal terms.
I'm over here in the dark.
Men love darkness because their deeds were evil, the Bible says. Tell us what verse 16 says.
Did you say 16 or 17?
I'm sorry, 17. That's right.
17?
Mhm.
Okay. The beams of our house are cedars. Our rafters are firs, which is strength.
Okay. So what do you think he's saying there? What is a deeper sort of a symbolic meaning? Let me ask you, you guys know something about structure of houses. I think you men do. What is a beam? What would you describe? How would you describe a beam? What does it do inside a building?
Strong, supportive.
Okay. Would you say it's maybe the strongest part of the building?
There's the weight.
Okay, it bears the weight. Stephen, what would you consider the rafters?
I was just, I was thinking the strength of the home, and maybe it's just symbolism for what our relationship makes for the home. But I know for example, where we live, just for example, just using our own home, yeah, the foundation is what makes it strong. And we live in an old neighborhood where the foundations are strong, but the foundation of our relationship makes it strong too.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. So if he's using these two things, he's doing a contrast between beams and rafters. Beams, as is pointed out, are this. If you look up in your attic sometime, the beams are the biggest pieces of wood up there. There's like maybe sometimes 8 by 8. Okay, these are big old beams. A man doesn't walk around carrying one of these, not very easily. They're usually long and they're solid wood meant to uphold the whole house. He says they're like cedars. I don't know enough about wood and building to know if the cedars are supposed to be special for that, but at least the cedars he's talking about I think, are supposed to be very strong and can help support a house. The rafters, though, go crossways to the beams. Rafters are not great big, solid chunks of wood. Bill, what's a rafter more like?
I only thing I can say is it gives shape to the roof and support to the roof,
Okay.
covers them.
Do the rafters support the beams, or do the beams hold up the rafters?
Uh, the beams support the rafters.
Right.
Yeah.
So what he's saying here is the beams are like the strength of the house. That's representing the man. He represents strength that the rafters can lean on, which would represent the female.
Right. You're not leaning on.
Yeah. So, and like you said too, the rafters are much smaller. Usually rafters I've seen are only about maybe 4 to 6 inches wide, maybe only if they're an inch thick, that's pretty thick. A lot of times they're less than an inch thick. Nothing to be compared like a beam. Okay. If a tree falls on a house, it'll break through the rafters easily, but it's going to be hard to break through the beam. Okay. So he's saying this is what our relationship is like. I provide certain strength to watch over you and to protect you, to lift you up, to support you, to encourage you. Fir trees, interesting, they're different. And fir trees are known a lot for their fragrance. Sometimes you be around some fir trees that grow with fir trees, and the smell is pretty strong. So he's saying, and once again, I'm holding up the woman, and she contributes. She's bringing, basically supporting the roof of the house. Okay. And so she knows she can trust me, that she can lean on me. Whatever comes her way, she can lean on me. And I'm going to let her do her thing. She's going to support the roof. Well, on the roof, we get to decide what color shingles or tiles we want to have on the roof, don't we? Okay. Who normally is going to make that decision in a home?
Man.
Oh, the man's going to make the decision about the color and design of of what's on the roof?
No.
Well, no, I thought you meant the construction of it.
Oh, no, no, I'm talking about the more ornamental parts now.
A woman.
Woman. Okay. Yes. So who's going to, again, think about it in homes. If that home is going to look nicely cared for and decorative, I think most times it'll be the female who's kind of making those decisions. You might have a man who's very good with interior design, and maybe he will, but that's not common. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just telling her the other day what this house and what this yard would look like if she wasn't here. It, the color, the flowers, the garden, the inside of the house. I mean, between me and the two cats, this place would be gone.
A different look.
Yes.
And so generally, if somebody comes into your home and they compliment it, who's probably going to get the credit for those for that home? The beams hidden up in the attic somewhere, or the outward things that ornament the home? And who are people going to think that's a reflection of? The woman. Most men think, even a stranger comes in your home, he's going to, if this home looks neat and orderly and attractive, it's that woman. She did this. So anyway, but that's okay. By being the supportive person who brings the strength to the relationship, we're meant to be kind of behind the scenes. Okay? Man, you do that. You're not running around looking for compliments on everything. You appreciate them, but you like to be, any good man wants to be the strength that his woman can lean on. And there again, we have that connection with Christ and his church, his believers. It's nice to feel like there's somebody really strong up there that I can just lean back on and rest. And he's going to support me. This applies to all of us. So anything else anybody has about this chapter today?
It's joyful.
Yes. You think people who have these feelings towards each other are likely to have a pretty good relationship?
Definitely.
So let's just say maybe these kind of feelings towards each other is something that we can always nurture in our homes and relationships. We can always nurture those. It never gets old. And it's a testimony too. I think this is kind of interesting that God values close intimacy with a man and woman. Because love, any real true love comes from God. So the fact that this woman can value and really respect and appreciate this man, or this man can continually be looking for the positive things about this woman, things that maybe nobody else sees. These are just the kind of things God would do in his love for us. That's how he looks at you. He's always looking to see the good, always looking for something to affirm in you. That's your God. That's your Jesus. I know it's hard because the devil comes at us, and so lots of times preachers come at us. You better do right. You better do this. You better do that. They always know what to tell you what you should do, whether they're doing it or not. These are things we're supposed to do as a reflection of our love of God. Human intimacy was given by God. He's the one who said, go forth and multiply. Okay? Well, we can multiply with children. We can also multiply with the love God shows us. Like the story I shared earlier. We can be fertile for that love to come out through our lives. whether it's physical with our spouse or whether it's just spiritual. We all have that power. And lastly, that God's love pursues us.
Mm.
You think if that man wanted to get to that woman, he's going to let anybody talk him out of it or try to obstruct his way? You think a good man's going to find a way to get to her? Oh, yeah. He'd fight enemies. He'd climb walls. Whatever he has to do, because this is how deeply his affections are for her. Well, that's all I have to say on this. Anybody else have anything else? I appreciate your participation.
Very good. Think about that. God is showing us what a fruitful relationship between a man and a woman should look like. And when you look at the world today, you realize and you see why so many relationships nowadays fail, because they're so selfish. They always often drift toward only seeing the bad in each other, and the relationship is more physical than there is any real spiritual depth to it. If you want a relationship to last, this is the way it should look. This is a model for me.
What would our culture be like if this is how couples decided to be with each other?
Sure.
Remember, this is a two-way conversation. Women contribute just as much as the men do. You contribute different things, but always the best thing we can be doing in a relationship is thinking, what can I contribute?
Yeah.
Or you always get it back. Let me ask one more question. Anybody ever have a weak moment? Anybody here, and then you don't have to raise your hand or anything. Anybody ever have a weak moment where maybe you say something critical towards that other person? Or you find yourself thinking something negative about them? Well, everybody does. Okay, everybody does. A relationship like this, though, chooses to keep the main thing the main thing. The relationship is the main thing. The relationship is how you are there for each other, to be there for each other, no matter what happens. You see, that's the main thing. And it's the main thing with Christ in us. Okay? When God looks at you, what he sees is the goodness and love of Jesus. That's why any of us who passes away in the next minute, it's already known where you're going, because he's not trying to hold there's no filter about things you've done wrong. So see, if Christ feels that way about us, how important it is for us to feel that way about each other. And we can displace the negative feelings by making it an effort, a focus to just meditate on, dwell on what's positive about that person. What's something they did today? Could be the smallest thing that we can say something nice about. But it's a decision. It's a decision to over and over turn our attention that way and our heart that way. And then the good things will come out. Now, I got to tell you something. Bill, how do you feel if you say something maybe it was not a good thing to say, or you do something that later you regret, and Patty knows all about it, but instead of holding that over you and saying, I'm not going to talk to you for the next 4 weeks or whatever, instead she says something nice to you. How do you feel about that thing you just did that wasn't so good?
Oh, yeah, bad. I have those moments like everybody else does, but my conscience will bother me like mad, and I'll go and apologize for it, and ask her to forgive me, and she's always easy to forgive. Yeah.
So how does it feel, though, if you realize that she might be aware of that thing you did, but that's not going to be the deciding factor of how she treats you?
That's right.
I know in the flesh it can be. I know in the flesh, but in the true depth of the relationship, I'm not going to let that determine. That's not your identity, what you just did. That's not
Yeah.
who. I know.
But,
You had a weak moment, and everybody has weak moments.
yeah.
So if God overlooks my weak moments, then how should we be with one another? You see, makes things stronger. And typically, if somebody does something, you do something, if I do something that's maybe not good, maybe negative, critical towards somebody, and I think maybe it bothered them or hurt their feelings,